I'm Rebecca Longfellow. I am with the Secretary of State's office. As you can see, Connie Lawson is now the Secretary of State. She was appointed by the governor in March. So she hasn't been in the office too long, and I started with the office shortly after she was appointed. So I've been with the office about 6 months, although I was previously in the same position under Sue Ann Gilroy. So I had a long separation. My husband and I were traveling about the United States. So I do have some previous experience as well. So, and I'm the Director of Business Services Division, and let me see. And then just to let you guys know, we have 13 employees there. And basically what the Business Services Division part of the Secretary of State covers are the business entity filings, the UCC filings, notary applications, trademarks, authentications. We process summons requests, and we have the business service helpline. And just to give you a little more information about business entities, in order for someone to create a formal business entity, they're required to file with our office. And then I just have kind of a laundry list of the different entity types that can form through our office. And then I put up some language that you might hear, domestic and foreign entities. I put that up there because domestic entities are just those who are domiciled in Indiana. Anything outside the state, so any other state or any other country, is considered a foreign business entity, which I think in our everyday language we think of foreign as being outside the United States as opposed to just outside the borders of Indiana. In addition to being able to file with the office through mail or walk-in services, we do have online services. So we now have certain business entities that can file online. You can do name availability checks online. People can file their annual reports online, and there are some other supplemental filings they can do. They can get their certificates of existence online, and you can also get copies of any of the entities that are online. All of the forms that they have filed with us, we have the images available, and that's free to go ahead and download or print those off. You can do the name searches, and you can also put in special search requests. So Access Indiana hosts our website, and they have a form on our site where if someone wanted to do a special entity search, like if they wanted to know a certain number of nonprofit entities in a specific county or something like that, or if they wanted to know sort of a higher level UCC search, they can fill out these very specific search criteria, and they will run those searches for the customers. This is just sort of another laundry list of different filings that people can do online. And just as another note about online filings, right now we only have those filings that pertain to domestic entities online, and that's to do with the fact that we don't have the ability to upload yet. And when they're a foreign entity, they have to give us certificates of existence from their home state. So we're working on that, but we don't have it yet. As far as UCC goes, we have the ability to do all of the searches. You can do the financing statements and amendments, and actually right now 99% of our searches are actually performed online, and about 86% of the filings are performed online. So when I was with the office before, I think I had a full-time staff of 8 people, and then we had the service companies doing their copies, and now we have a person who is really our full-time trademarks clerk and does UCC in her spare time. So, go ahead.
Where we go? What's your website?
It's I think it's on here, but it's www.in.gov/SOS. So it's just the in.gov/SOS, and then all of this is under the Business Services Division. And then underneath Business Services Division, you can choose corporations or UCC.
And what I'll do is I will put Rebecca's presentation on our website under meeting materials, and we'll have under newly elected officials so that you can have this information right there, okay?
So notaries also, now it's a complete online process. So anyone becoming a notary goes to the website and they fill out their form online. All of that's done online. Any sort of searches or the whole database is available. So all of the notary information is now contained online.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a notary, and once I became an elected official, they said I could no longer be a notary. Is that true?
It's no longer true. There's been a code change, and that was because previously a notary was considered a lucrative office, and the rule in Indiana is that you can't be part of two lucrative offices. So they've done a specific statutory change that says being a notary is not a lucrative office. So it's not an issue anymore. We also process trademarks. That is done basically in-house, although we do have some search availability online. And then authentications, also known as apostilles, are documents that we also process. This is when someone brings something to us and we apply or affix this authentication or apostille so that they can take the documents overseas. And it's basically the only thing that we are actually authenticating is the fact that it was notarized. We don't authenticate the underlying documents of what's under the notary. But then, so for example, if somebody's doing an adoption overseas, they have to bring in their documents that they need. We authenticate or apostille those documents, and then they can take them overseas. And really the only difference between those two words is that apostille is part of a Hague Convention, and so any country who's adopted the Hague Convention, they use the apostille, and countries who have not done the have not adopted the Hague Convention, then they receive the authentication. But they are just almost identical in nature, so it's just a difference of whether a foreign country has adopted that convention. And then I just wanted to kind of just go through what I think, what I think of as being our primary duties as the Business Services Division. And it's our primary duty is to maintain the records. And all of the records that we maintain are public records. Everything that gets filed in our office is searchable to the public. That includes all of the notary information. So all of that is public record. That bullet point where it says SOS shall file it, basically the statutes that apply to us when it comes to liens or corporate filings, the statutes are very clear. If the filing requirements are met and the fee is tendered, that the Secretary of State shall file. So we do not do anything in regards to looking at whether the document's authentic, whether there's any validity to the document. If somebody requests that an officer be changed, that they're the president, we file it. So if someone comes in and they tell us that they're the president of Eli Lilly and we think that the person is absolutely crazy, we take that paper and we file it. So that's what the statute says for us to do, is shall file. And it even goes on into the comment section and describes that our powers, our duties are ministerial in nature. So we are not an office that looks to determine what the validity or nature of the documents are that are being handed to us. And part of that goes to the online filings, and that's why online filings are actually even possible in a lot of cases because of the way they can be processed online. So that's actually helped our office a lot. And then I added this slide in about fraudulent filings. This is something that's a little different coming back to the office. In the time that I've been gone, I just see that our office is being used in fraudulent ways. It wasn't really an issue when I was there before. I'm sure that there were little things where if someone was infighting in a divorce or something like that over he's the president, I'm the president, you know, things like that we had. But this is a whole new level. With the business identity theft, we haven't seen it in Indiana yet, but through IAC, I know it's a huge problem across the nation. And what people are doing is what I alluded to earlier. They are basically going in and changing information for corporations, changing the officers, changing the registered agent, changing the principal address, hijacking the identity, opening lines of credit. And it's basically the same thing that people are having, you know, with the individual identity theft. But they're finding it more lucrative to do it to businesses now. It happened, they had quite a hit in Colorado and Georgia. It went into the millions of dollars, the losses. So, you know, one thing I like to bring up is that online filing doesn't really increase the risk of business identity theft. I think some people have wondered, you know, whether that accessibility online increases that. But for us, it's really no bigger issue online than it is whether someone brought the piece of paper. In fact, it's a little bit harder, at least in Indiana online, because for the free filings like the change of addresses and things, you actually have to have an account with Access Indiana. So, you know, we have put some pieces in place, especially when there isn't a fee involved, to have somewhere, you know, where they have to set that account up. And then in terms of the fraudulent filings, if you haven't heard about it, you will. You'll have to deal with the sovereign liens that get filed. This is also new for me. I would suggest, if you're new and you don't know about it, there's Glenn Carlson with the FBI came in and did a presentation for my office. He's happy to come and talk to you guys about it. And I think the biggest thing that I got from it is that he really helps you understand how to deal with the people, not to get into sort of a conversation about their views versus your views. Just go on about your business. To let you guys know, the Secretary of State's office is actually working on a piece of legislation that would provide us the ability to reject these documents. And we have talked about including the recorders and the counties in that. So the person who was behind the legislation, Representative Noe, was not reelected. So we'll see what happens right now with that. I have to get someone else behind that legislation. But I think it's important to be able, as the filing office, if I know something is garbage, that I can go ahead and reject it. And what you'll learn too, if you haven't seen them, is it's completely obvious. They follow very specific filing patterns, so it's really obvious. I don't feel like it, as far as the filing office goes, that we're stepping outside our bounds in terms of being able to reject those documents. They're very easy to find. In regards to the apostees and authentications, we had a situation this year where, it was a sovereign citizen who was coming in and getting apostees and authentications on documents that looked, well, like land transfer type documents, and then they were filing them as miscellaneous documents with the recorder. They were then targeting the Hispanic community to lease or sell property that they didn't own. But they were using the public terminals to show them, see, it's recorded. Well, they've been arrested, and we'll see how the prosecution goes on that. But just from my perspective, and to let you know, apostees and authentications, the sole purpose for those documents is so that you can use them overseas. I would not accept them to be filed even as a miscellaneous document because there's no purpose. I mean, the sole purpose for those documents is use overseas, and if you need, I can help you with, you know, the language from the convention, the Hague Convention. They have a great website. They actually have a really nice kind of a handbook about just making the convention very simple and the standards for what these documents are. So, you know, if you needed a rejection reason, you could go to that handbook and use those statements for a rejection reason. But those are the things we're seeing in terms of fraud.